So, hello everyone. A very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for this important discussion on Energy Access Explorer, which is basically a powerful tool that leverages geospatial data to support energy planning and improve energy access outcomes. This session is particularly relevant in today's landscape where decentralized and distributed renewable energy plays a crucial role in enabling sustainable and equitable energy solutions. So as we work towards strengthening the DRD ecosystem, tools like this are vital in identifying high impact areas for energy interventions, bridging the gap between energy supply and demand, and facilitating data-driven decisions making for governments, businesses, and civil societies. This integration of spatial analysis and socio-economic indicators can really help us prioritize the regions that need energy access the most, ensuring that no communities are left behind. So we are excited to have distinguished experts with us today who will shed light on the functionalities of this tool, this Energy Access Explorer, which is shortly also called as EAE, and its role in advancing decentralized energy access. To set the context for today's discussion and to welcome our esteemed speaker, I would like to invite Nitin Akhare, the President and Board Member of Clean and the Executive Director of Energy Access and Livelihood at Customized Energy Solutions. He has over 12 plus years of experience in energy access, business models, and renewable energy applications. Nitin has been instrumental in fostering market linkages and technology mapping for rural and underserved communities. His expertise in standards for the BOP segments and clean cooking solutions adds immense value to today's discussion. So let's hear out from Nitinji. And to everyone, if there is any question, please feel free to write your questions in the box, or any comments if you have, please feel free to write it there. Thank you. Nitinji, you may start.
Yeah, you're able to hear me, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I was thinking what I should set the context. There are two stalwart speakers right here, and I don't want to delay their sessions and the people waiting to hear them. But when I thought, right, as a role taken as a president for Clean, this is a webinar we want to do, and the word is Energy Access Explorer. Energy Access, everybody is doing work for last 3 decades. I'm seeing that. But now what is Explorer? Now, when we go about and talk about history, it's about, if you see APJ Abdul Kalam sir, if you say Bhaskar Acharya, Babuta from Morocco, Huen Tsang, or Vasco da Gama, or James Renel. If you see, this comes as an explorer, right? From like early 7th century till recently, right? James Cannell built our cartographer of Indian subcontinent in late 18th century. So all these people have in common. I thought like not take some lead from history, then dive into geography, and then dive into data sciences. So all these people had something common. They had a common for exploring the idea for making society a better place to live in, right? And also create some knowledge products that can really help the society which wants to do something but have very limited resources. So that's where exactly Energy Explorer comes and synergizes together. So in this sector, if you see, there are 600 million people till without access to electricity in Africa, in global south, if you say predominantly. And in that, another billion people without reliable electricity. So that's a big number of people when we talk about energy. That's electricity. Thermal is different. So how this tool, Energy Access Explorer, can use the insights from the available data and backed by right tools which are open source. That's very important. There are n number of tools that can be open, not can be used, but the sector which we are, it's very small, limited with resources. So I'll be uh, uh, understanding, right, how we can use this data and tool for this sector, which can create high impact clusters and help private players, government agencies, as well as the financing institutions to have an informed decision making. So that's where this Energy Explorer tool is created by a credible organization, WRI, World Resource Institute. It was established in 1982. Now they have 1900 staff spreading across 6 continents of the globe, right? I think Akansha ji and they can highlight. I'm telling the credibility of the institution also and why they're here. And what are their 3 core values? They are having a research-based approach where they meets essential needs of people, protect environment, and then build resilient communities. So based on these 3 values exactly, the EAE, Energy Access Explorer, is designed to serve the communities and the population in the energy access areas. So now what at Clean we do? Clean is an industry body, a national industry body having almost a presence in all the states. And we are aligned and want to support such initiatives by WRI, which are benefiting the industry players and the civil societies through the use of tools. And what we are going to do going ahead, how it can also enable policy advocacy at the national and at the subnational level, as also at global level, and also access to finance. These are 2 key asks from the Clean members also. So these are the in general, right now, how this webinar is shaping up. And without further delay, let's invite, right, Akansha ji and Shika Anand ji to take us through the tool. But before that, I think there will be a short introduction about them from Gitanjali. Thank you and looking forward to this amazing webinar. Thanks.
Thank you, Nitin ji. Thank you so much. Going forward, yes. So let's welcome Akanksha Satlani, who is the EAE lead at WRI and is leading the creation of energy access maps to visualize electrification data across India's states. With 5 years of experience in data analysis and geo visualization, Akanksha plays a crucial role in enhancing service delivery outcomes and supporting sustainable development goals. Her background in geoinformatics from ISRO has equipped her with the expertise to translate spatial data into impactful energy solutions. And we also have Dr. Shikha Anand, a senior project associate at WRI India, who supports the EAE in strengthening data-driven energy planning. With prior experience at ISRO's National Remote Sensing Center and Niti Aayog, she specializes in spatial mapping, climate resilience and sustainable development planning. Her PhD is fostering in forestry, focuses on ecosystem service mapping in the Himalayas, making her an expert in leveraging geospatial tools for sustainable energy planning. So we look forward to an engaging session and encourage all participants to actively contribute to the discussion. Thank you and welcome Ms. Akanksha and Ms. Shikha. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Nitin and Gitanjali and the Clean Network for giving us a chance to talk about Energy Access Explorer. I'll share my screen and then we can start. Just give me a second. Please let me know when you can see the screen. Perfect. So we wanted to talk about Energy Access Explorer, which recently also last year got a Digital Public Good standards. And we say that this is a tool which allows you to actually identify where the gaps are, where energy requirement is there. And as a screening purpose, it can help. I will also come back to digital public good, but like Nitinji mentioned that around 675 million people do not have access to electricity, and 2 billion people are cooking with polluting fuels. And when we talk about polluting fuels, most of them are women, and then it becomes gendered. So they're cooking with polluting fuels, and there was a study which was in Nature that polluting fuel also impacts infants the most, because the kid is latched with the mother when they are cooking in the kitchen, and they are very vulnerable to indoor pollution, which leads to lots of infant death. And if we see SDGs, sustainable development goals, access to clean and affordable and reliable electricity will support achievement of other sustainable development goals in health, electrification, gender, water, sanitation, and economic growth. Because the more if you have reliable, sustainable, and affordable electricity, you can improve things, you can work. During COVID, we saw that how not having access to oxygen, electricity led to so many losses of life. So having said that, we and because we all are from an energy background and we are working in DRE systems, we wanted to just slightly talk about integrated planning. Why we say that integrated planning is important? It is important because as the population is growing and we are developing economically, our demand is growing in very different manner. So it's important that the supply for the demand is matched with the supply electricity is matched with the demand which is growing. And it's also important that we talk about a decentralized, cost effective renewable energy into the region's energy mix, so that it is viable for the consumers as well as for the uh, users. The second thing we say is inclusive energy planning. Why inclusive energy planning? Because the energy demand for Jharkhand versus a district in India, or any different sector would be very different. So it's important that we account for the various cross sectoral needs of the electricity. We are able to link bottom up, because for example, if government of India comes and says let's solarize all the healthcare facilities, but the energy required for each and every healthcare facility would depend on the type of the healthcare facility. Is it a district hospital, or is it a community health center, or is it a health and wellness center? Because the number of patients which are coming, what is the footfall, will change the energy which is required. And it's also important that we link electricity system at the different geographical level. What is at the block level, what is at the district level, or what is at the individual household level, to the district level, national level, and the state level. So we say that to have a affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, it's important to have an integrated and inclusive approach to energy planning. And so we started working on Energy Access Explorer in 2018, and there were three reasons we thought of actually building the tool. When we studied the market, or we studied the different complementary tools which are available, we realized that energy sector has been very supply side driven, and it has been very demand. So the demand and supply needs to come at the single place. It's important that so if somebody wants to put, or the government wants to put solar farms, they put it in the area which can then supply it to the people who are living nearby. So can we bring in the supply and demand at the same space, so that the solutions which are provided are viable to the utilities and consumers as well as for the DRD organizations? Secondly, we wanted to reduce the reliance on GIS data and programming expertise, because the idea was that users such as clean network, government officials, health ministries, line ministries should be able to do analysis on the fly without relying on geospatial platforms expertise. And the last reason was we wanted to have an open source solution. The reason open source solution is important is because we are living in a resource constraint setting. We all work on access to electricity. So if we can have a solution which is available to everybody, they can use it for their analysis. Secondly, because it is open source, you can actually go and see what is the algorithm, how we are helping prioritize, how the data is coming, so that there is, and then it gets peer-to-peer reviewed. So if it is reviewed, there's a little bit more trust than a solution which you can't tell that how the functioning is happening behind. And what we say is, while the tool and the code is open access, the data might not be, because sometimes there are some sensitivities around the data, which then is given in staging, which the government officials are using according to the need. So we ended up developing Energy Access Explorer, which then brings in multidimensionality of energy planning, because energy planning is not only that, let's put solar because there is a good amount of sunlight which is coming up. You need to think about the weather, the temperature, the climate. You need to think about how people will use it, if this is the right place to put the solar. So we bring in the multidimensionality of energy planning, and we got awarded as a digital public good. So Energy Access Explorer is the only digital public good in SDG 7 globally. And so it's we get this so we meet with the different agencies who are working together. How can we work together? And last year we also got GEO SDG award, which is a very prestigious award, which is given by NASA, European Space Satellite Agency, and all. So just coming to EAE, so it is very equity driven, inclusive, integrated. What it does, it allows users to prioritize high resolution area for energy access intervention. When we say high resolution area, it can go from 1 kilometer to 100 meter. So you can identify which area you can prioritize for energy access. You can store the dynamic information for the data providers. Like you can have data on what is the demographics. So if you see on the right side, we have demographics, we have population density, we have social and productive loads, which are the places which is asking for electricity. In this case, it's agriculture mandis. We have energy resources. So this is a map of, I think, wind speed. Then we have infrastructure. What is the physical infrastructure which is coming? You can also use, you can track changes over the time, that how a state is faring, how much of installation they have done over years. You can have the data at census data, you can have satellite data, national data, subnational data, even primary data. For example, in Jharkhand, we did primary survey just to understand the data which we get from National Health Mission. Is it matching in terms of electricity reliability and supply? So you can then add primary data as well. So what it enables user to visualize data. It enables them to do inclusive and integrated planning. You can prioritize where to go for electrification, and you can also estimate the energy needs for development services very quickly. So when a person is using EAE, for the front end, they don't need any programming, they don't need any GIS capabilities. They can put the data, put the filters, and it will help you identify where to go. And my colleague Shikha will give a demo. For the backend, we have data administrators, which they did just basic GIS GIS understanding. We don't expect them to know programming. How we manage the data is we have data, metadata, and everything customized at the same place. So we have the data depending on the countries and the geog state, and we have the roles and responsibility of the institutions, because we work with local government, local organizations, local working group, so that it's sustainable and the data is which is locally relevant. So for example, if you're working in Mizoram, we'll be working with the planning department of Mizoram, we'll be working with the Mizoram remote sensing department, so that it is locally relevant and the information is latest, relevant, and up to date. So currently we are covering 32% of the unserved population globally. We started with the 3 countries, but we are at 23 countries now, geographies at subnational and national level. In 23 geographies, in India, we are in Jharkhand, Assam, Nagaland, and Mizoram, but we are hoping to expand further depending on the needs and requirements from the partners. We have a very close partnership with 200 stakeholders and users who guide us how to, take it forward, how do you improve it. And we have more than 25,000 returning users. The reason 25,000 returning users is very important for us is because this is a very, very niche area. So in that, if people are coming back and back again and again, that means that yes, it is useful for them. So what I'll do is I'll just talk about 1 or 2 use cases, how EAE has been used in India, and 1 or 2 from Sub-Saharan Africa, and then I'll pass it on to Shikha, who can then take it in more detail. So this is an example of prioritization of healthcare facilities for solarization. We worked with Jareda, Jharkhand Renewable Energy Agency, along with them. So they wanted to solarize 300 healthcare facilities out of 3,400. To solarize them, they wanted to know which are the good ones. So the criteria was, what is the amount of sunlight which is coming from the sun to the earth? What is the current status of electricity? So using the analysis, then they were able to finalize and solarize the healthcare facility. Similarly with JSLPS, they wanted to, so the government of Jharkhand came up with a solar surface water lift irrigation scheme. So to identify which villages they should actually put in the implement the scheme, we use analysis from Energy Access Explorer. We added the data like what is the surface water potential, what is the amount of sunlight which is coming up, and village boundaries and the road network and the terrain. And then we ended up talking about the surface water lift irrigation scheme. Similarly, in flood relief shelter in Nalbari district in Assam, we used EAE to prioritize the schools and healthcare facilities, especially the schools which are used as flood relief shelter, which are used as polling stations, for solarization of them. And in Assam only, we worked on CM's Climate Resilient Fellowship Scheme to help them prioritize the villages which can be used to implement the scheme. And this is from Jharkhand again. So Jareda wants to make Giridih city as smart city, and one of the objectives was to solarize the road network. So just to do solarization of road network, we took what is the population which is there in those areas, what is the amount of sunlight which is coming up, and which should be the streets which they should solarize first. And this is from Africa in Nigeria. So we worked with a rural electrification agency to actually understand what is the market intelligence if DRE entrepreneurs wants to use EAE to understand where they should go, as approach. So what we did was, sorry, you are able to see the screen. Yes, sorry. Yeah. So we understood the demand which is coming up from the people who are living in that area, and the demand which is coming up from schools or healthcare facilities. And we talked about what is the supply available in terms of grid network, in terms of if there is already DRE solutions or there is a power plant available, what is the transmission lines. And if you can see the result, which says that these are the areas which has high demand, but they're away from the transmission lines and the DRE solutions. So these are the areas where DRE enterprise can go first to actually put in the for market intelligence. So EAE allows you to screen what is the right solution to go. Similarly, we also worked on identifying where to put EV charging stations, because a lot of EV charging stations are coming up and different vendors, they want to put EV charging stations. But to put it, they should know that this is the area where there's a high demand. So the demand would be where there are Ola Ubers which are coming up, where there are shopping centers, restaurants, or near the metro hospitals. So these are the areas, if they put EV charging stations, they will get high demand. And I think I'll close with this one. So this we also support in off-grid electrification in Ethiopia. So this was done by World Bank. So they used analysis from Energy Access Explorer to prioritize the areas which can be electrified with off-grid project. This was done for 145 Voredas, where more than 19 million people are living. So while we support as a background the impact, because there are so many people who are living without access to electricity, it leads to a very big impact. And so what we do is we talk about equitable access to electricity. So the people who have been left, that it provides the data, or it has the data on poverty, affordability, unserved households, health, education facilities, so that it can bring in supply and demand together. It also gives equitable access to software. So organizations like Clean Network, AMDA, and health ministries are using EAE to get access to the granular data, and they do analysis on their own, and then they are also being a part of conversation. And wherever we go, we make EAE working groups, so it's at the local level. So it's not like that we are taking the lead. It's about local governments, local organizations. So next week on 25th of February, we have a training at Mizoram University, because we want to build local capacity. We want to work with local staff, local engagement. And so we also do EAE is a part of energy modeling platform, summer schools. And I would also request you guys, if you want to participate, please do participate in it. So EAE is not the only tool which goes there. There's a tool on onset which allows you to identify which is the best source of electricity. There's a tool called MAID which is being used. OnStove is being used. And Osmosis is also one of the tools which get trained. It happens every year in Italy, and it's a 2-week course. And applications will start in the month of June for August. And this course is generally it's sponsored by the different organizations. So I would request all of you guys, if you are more interested in energy planning, energy modeling, definitely apply for it, because you can get lots of learning. It's not only Energy Access Explorer, but learnings from different tools and how to integrate the tools. And for 2 weeks, you will be just focusing on one tool, with the cost of the training and the stay will taken care by climate compatible growth group and the different organizations. I'll stop here and maybe I'll pass on to Shikha. Also, the last thing, we also have an open online training course which allows you to learn more about EAE and how to use it. And then I'll pass it on to Shikha. And Shikha, over to you.
Thanks, Akansha. So I'll share my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Okay. So like Akansha showed in her PPT, this is the landing page for Energy Access Explorer. And if you go on Explore Data, you can actually see all the geographies where EAE is present. So in case of India, there are 4 states that we're focusing on, and also one of the districts in Assam, which is one of the aspirational districts in Assam, where the local government wanted to work. So for this particular demonstration, I'll be focusing on Assam. I'll be showing you different data sets which are available in this state, and the kind of data sets vary from state to state depending on the requirement of the local users. So, like Akansha showed in her PPT, EAE started with the aim of bringing demand and supply data sets on a common platform. So here you can see there are timeline data sets, there's demand, supply, other, and all. I'll go through them one by one. And I'll after showing all the data sets, kind of data sets available under different headings, I'll just show you a kind of analysis using one of the examples. Okay, so starting with demand data sets. Under demand, we have different kind of sectors that we focus on. So for example, you have demographics, we have school data sets, we have productive users, we have one of the use cases that Akansha showed in a PPT, a Nalbari district from Assam, where the schools were focused on, which are used as flood relief shelters and polling stations. So that data set specifically from Nalbari we have on the platform. Under demographics, we have relative wealth index, which is a raster data, which is in the form of pixels basically, and population density. So it talks about basically the demand data sets capture the kind of data sets which are related to energy demand. So wherever population density is high, the demand might be high. Where it's low, it might be low. So that kind of data sets are covered under demand. Under schools, there are location of schools. So schools also we have tried to segregate under different kind of schools that they are. So if, for example, if there's secondary and higher secondary, there's primary, upper primary, secondary, higher secondary. That way, we have a number of classification that we have done, and they are all point data sets. And you can actually zoom in and see that's a number of schools, and you can see the name of the schools and a number of attributes attached to it. So like that, these data sets are there. Then we also have productive users. In case of productive users, they are also point data sets. So we have agriculture mandis. So I'll just switch on the district boundary layer as well so that I can easily see. So this is the district boundary of Assam. Coming back to demand data set. So agriculture mandis, major industries, cold storages, the collection and packing centers. You can see how different colors denote different kind of layers. And this is the legend that you can actually use for what kind of data is shown using what kind of colors. Then similarly, we also have for Nalbari, like Akansha was showing in the PPT, you can actually see it is focusing only on in the Nalbari district. So this is Nalbari district. So these data sets are only for Nalbari district. So like that, different data sets are available under demand. In case of supply, we have 2 kind of data sets mainly. The existing infrastructure in the state. So whatever existing power plants are there, whatever existing road network is there. So all that data, transmission line, distribution substations, all that information, and also the resources, the potential sources of energy. So for example, wind speed is there at different hub heights. So 10 meter, 20 meter, 50 meter. There's bioenergy potential data. There's global horizontal irradiation, which is mainly the solar potential at different locations. And if you actually zoom in and click on any particular pixel, It shows you that what is the wind speed at that particular pixel, what is the bioenergy potential, and what is the global horizontal irradiation. For example, in this case, it's 2.77 meter per second wind speed at 10 meter hub height, and GHI is 1627 kilowatt hour per meter square. So like that information is available. And the legend can be seen by clicking on this active layers option, and the brighter colors in case of GHI show higher values. So here you can see the lower values are not present in case of Assam. Then going back to the existing infrastructure, so the road network is there. So if you zoom in, you can actually see the road network. It's pretty dense for some areas. So that is also there. Then location of power plants. In case of power plants, I'll like to show you one very interesting thing. So for example, if I talk about hydro plants, hydropower plants, there's just 2 hydropower plants in case of Assam. And there's an option to change the base layer. So if I change it to satellite data, you can actually see that, and I'll turn off the district boundary as well. Yeah, so in here, if you see, this is the Kopili hydro power plant, and you can actually zoom in and see, yes, that is the location of this particular power station. So these kind of things also you can change the base layer and see what kind of infrastructure is falling where. And switching back to the default. So this is about the infrastructure. Also, we have captured the installations done by solar installations done by APDCL, which is Assam Power Distribution Corporation Limited. So here you can actually see all the locations of whatever rooftop solar plant sites they have put, and large scale power plants that they have put. So the blue ones show the rooftop solar plants, and yellow are the large scale solar plants. That all also you can see the distribution. So if for example, a government department wants to plan where all they should focus on, they can actually see the existing infrastructure and focus on areas which might have higher demand, but the power plants are not present there currently. Then other data sets. So we understand that many a times a particular location might be more vulnerable to some kind of natural calamities. For example, Assam is pretty vulnerable to floods every year. So for that, we have number of vulnerability data sets. There's landslide susceptibility, there's historical seismic activity. So this is location of earthquakes which have happened in Assam over the period of years. So if you click on one of the points, you can actually see, you can actually see that there was a 2.9 scale earthquake in 2015. So that kind of information is also available. Then there's district vulnerability index. So district-wise, that information is there. Then flood vulnerability index. So while planning, different departments or organizations can actually consider these vulnerability layers as well, so that either they construct disaster-proof structures, or they should avoid constructing in areas which are highly prone to natural disasters every year. So these are the kind of data sets available. I would like to demonstrate an analysis using one example where EA can act as a market intelligence tool. So I'll take up some demand data sets, some from supply, and vulnerability data sets as well. So in case of demand, if, for example, if I focus on, if I want to see the relative wealth index in the state, so the how much, and you can actually see the metadata for different layers as well. So for example, here you can see that what is relative wealth index, what does it show? So here you can see that it shows the relative standard of living in different countries, and actual data is at 2.4 kilometer resolution. But for this particular geography, because all the data sets are at a resolution of 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer into 1 kilometer, so it has been resampled to 1 kilometer resolution. And then it has been calculated using 15 standardized questions related to assets and housing characteristics. So that kind of information is attached with each layer available on the platform. Then what is the suggested citation? What are the cautions? What is the data source? For example, if someone wants to actually go to the data source and download it from there, they can do that. So, and spatial resolution is available, license, date of content. All this information is attached with each of the data sets. Then if I also want to include population density, because I want to see what all are the areas which are highly populated. So you can see the brighter colors are high population density and darker colors are low population density. So that I will consider. Then also I would like to focus on productive uses. So for example, I'll take some point locations from agriculture mandis, major industries, cold storages, collection and packing centers, warehouses. So you can take as many data sets as much are required for your analysis of your interest. So these are demand data sets. Coming to supply. For supply, I'll take global horizontal irradiance. So that is solar potential. And I'll also include major roads and power plant hydro as well. Also, I'll include distribution stations because I want to see where all available substations are available and the transmission lines. So so if you are not able to see the transmission lines, I can actually I can change the transparency of different layers as well. So right now, okay, I've reduced the transparency of GHI and I'll also reduce the transparency of population density so that you can actually see the data set, the transmission line and the relative index as well. And the road network because it's making it difficult to see the data set. So now you can see the transmission lines. The gray lines, these are all transmission lines. Okay, then in supply, I've covered, okay, the ones that I was interested in, and I'll also take flood vulnerability index because I want to see what all areas are vulnerable to floods as well. Okay, so now these are all the data sets that I have taken, and you can see the list of data sets here. Also for the point data sets, you can actually see a table as well. So for example, this cold storages, I can actually see how many cold storages are there. So 40 cold storages in Assam and the names and all that information also I can access in a tabular form. Okay, now going to analysis, I just have to click on analysis and I can see, okay, these are the areas with the high energy excess potential. So you can see the brighter values again. They are the high energy excess potential and darker are low energy excess potential. Now, what is energy excess potential? Energy excess potential, basically, it's an index which takes the weighted mean of demand index and supply index. So all the demand data sets and supply data sets, it averages it out and gives a weighted average result in the form of map where you can see the areas which have high demand and high supply come under high energy excess potential and areas with which are darker in color, so no energy excess potential, have basically low demand and low supply. And also there are three other indices that can be focused on. So if you are coming from a sector which only needs to look at demand data sets, so you can actually select demand index and this index is calculated considering only the demand data sets that you have selected, and also supply index. So only the supply data set that you have collected. That way different indices can be focused on. Also there's assistance need index, which gives you the areas where financial assistance will be required to for development of any kind of infrastructure or to do developmental activities. So coming back to energy excess potential, you can also see top locations. So it gives you a list of top 20 results. So this is the area which has highest energy excess potential. And then this is the second in line. So like that, you also get the areas which have high energy excess potential. And also if you want to focus on any specific district, for example. So in case of Assam, we have data for we have district boundary, right? So if you want to focus on, for example, Kamrup district, so if I click on Kamrup, my analysis will only come out for Kamrup. So like that, also instantly on the fly, you can change the geography and focus on the area of your own interest. Then, so this is analysis which I've got only by selecting the results. I did not need any kind of GIS expertise to select the layers, right? Now, if I want to change, if I want to put some criteria, so for example, I want to focus on areas having high global horizontal irradiance. This is my global horizontal irradiance. If I want to focus on areas having 1200 to 1800 kilowatt hour per meter square, I want to exclude, if I want to exclude area of a radius of 5 kilometer around the distribution substation, because I want to focus on areas which are lying far away from my existing infrastructure. So if so you can see a radius of 5 kilometer around the substations is excluded from my analysis. Then similarly for transmission lines, if I want to exclude 1 kilometer buffer around, or maybe I'll make it 2 kilometer. So 2 kilometer away from my transmission lines, that is also excluded. So if, for example, the user wants to set up distributed renewable energy infrastructure in some areas, you would like to put it up in remote areas which are away from road network, which are away from existing electricity infrastructure. So that way you can actually exclude the areas which might be already having proper electricity supply, and then you can only have areas of your interest. Then you can also change, for example, if I want to for example, flood vulnerability index, if I want to change the value for this. So now you can see the areas having flood vulnerability index between 1 to 5 are only here. So now if someone wants to actually go and check on the ground, they can focus on these areas instead of putting their funds and manpower and resources into going and doing primary survey for the whole state. And now you actually have top locations where you actually need to go and do ground verification on, or you want to do some primary survey on. So that way this platform can be useful. And if you want to just clear all the filters and clear all the data sets, that all can also be done on the fly. So if there are any questions, because
Shika, can you talk about save analysis and report?
yes. Thank you, Kansha. So there's also a provision to save the analysis. So for that, you need to actually log in. So my account is already logged in. If I click on save analysis, I can just save it. Just let me, I'll just stop sharing for a second and I'll reshare. I need to exit the full screen. Yeah. Okay. So here you can actually see the analysis has come. And this is because my account is already logged in, so I need not. If you're not logged in, you'll actually have to just register your mail ID and create an account, and you can save your analysis. And any point of time, you can actually go and check your analysis. So I can just open it and see all the criteria that I had selected and the analysis result automatically. Yeah, so this is what I had done previously. Then you can also generate report. So if there is, there's less time and you actually just want to download a report, that provision is also there. So you can see here the 4 indices that are available in the form of pie chart. So what is the area share under different low, medium, high classes in energy access potential, demand index, supply index, and assistance need index. There's also, you can also get it in the form of table. So different indices and under different the 5 classes. And the result can be downloaded in the form of presentation as well. You can just click on export presentation, and here's the presentation. So this you get immediately. So it gives you about the platform. It tells you about how it works. It shows all the data sets that you had selected and all the ranges that you had set. And also one thing that I missed, that you can also set importance of different layers. I'll go back to it. But yeah, so about Assam, it will show you different indices. What is the analysis results under different indices: demand index, supply index, energy access potential, assistance need index, and then the top locations as well. So it gives you the lat long and the different indices, the 4 indices. it gives you the value for that and what all districts it is following. So for example, if you see many top locations are following in Kachar district in Assam. So if someone wants to focus on any specific district, that also you get from this kind of analysis. So this is the PPT that you can get. This is the kind of report that is generated in the form of PPT. If you have to give presentation, for example, immediately to some of the higher ups, the decision makers, you can just download it, keep the slides of your preference. You can actually show them this kind of analysis immediately. Going back to the importance that I was talking about, the layers that you have shared, for example, if I want to focus more on transmission lines, the existing infrastructure basically, I can actually, so importance level is from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the least. So I can set the transmission line, I want to keep it highest. Population density also, population density, I want to keep at 4. So, and like that, you can actually change the importance basically for different kind of layers. And then your result also changes. I'll just show you the result for the complete thing so that you can see if any changes are happening. Yeah. Yeah. So for example, GHI was at 5 and now I've moved it to 3. There are certain changes in colors. Then I want to put vulnerability index also at low importance. You can see the colors are changing, right? And then if I want to, again, if I want to change the importance of relative wealth index also, or if I remove relative wealth index altogether, the results immediately change. So like that, different importance can be set for different layers, and that way your results will keep on changing on the fly. Yes, any questions?
If your presentation is done, I think we can keep the floor open. If I think people can unmute also themselves, the participant, and or they can raise the hand. And then we'll go. I think a lot of questions Akansha ji is managing on the chat. Thanks to her.
Okay.
That's the effort of teamwork when we have two speaker. But I think the floor is open if everything is done from your end, Shikha ji.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yes, Omkar Bua. You can introduce just in one liner from which institute or organization you are.
Yeah, so I'm Omkar. I'm a fourth year PhD student at Sitara IIT Bombay. So though you said only one liner, I just want to mention that I'm currently working on rural mini grids sustainability at as part of my PhD research work. And Nitin and we are trying to do this in those things. So yeah, thanks a lot. So it's a wonderful tool, and whatever questions were there, I have already added into a chat box. But then I would like to understand how we are addressing the dynamics on the field in this tool. For example, when we are collecting data simultaneously, a lot of activities are also going on simultaneously on the field. The grid lines will get extended. In some of the areas, new installations will be there. Some installations will be defunct. Being researcher in the mini grid area, I'm always trying to see in terms of mini grid operations. So I'm just curious how frequently this will be updated in the tool. I'm always thinking in terms of the latest updates available for the researchers to do a more impactful research in their domain. That is one question. And also, I have added another question like up to what level, especially in terms of DRE, we are going. For example, now government is putting a lot of schemes, and then the consumers are becoming prosumers. So we can start seeing solar panels at an individual household level also. So are we going at that level to give a more clarity in terms of data, or we are stopping somewhere at an upper level? Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thanks, Omkar. Very, very good questions. So as for the frequency of how frequently the data is updated, usually we try to do it twice in a year. But because there is no set date for when the data is collected from the departments, as and when we get updated data from the departments, it can be once in a year, it can be 3 times in a year. So depending on the source department, if we have taken it from the department, we keep on updating them. So for example, if there's population density that is taken from open data, secondary data source. So if it is being updated in 2 years, so as as quickly as it is updated, we try to update it on the platform. But if we are taking it from government department, so for example, in case of Mizoram, we took some data sets from their website before we went and visited them. So that data was from the latest data on the website was till 2022. But when we went and showed it to them, they shared the latest till 2024. They shared the data with us and they asked us to update it. So it's like that. Many a times departments usually collect it annually, what all data sets. So that is the frequency when it is updated. And the second question on the scale at which we are going, again, depending on the users and the available data. So for users, we understand that they would like to go to as much finer resolution as possible, but many a times that data is not available. So in case of Mizoram, we have got data of rooftop solar installation as well. While in case of Jharkhand, we have got, as of now, there is data that they have for rooftop installation done for government buildings. But what we have as of now, that is for district level, the total capacity that they have installed for that particular district on the rooftops of government buildings. So what all data they provide, the users, departments they provide us, we update it as and when they give us and at the scale that they give us. Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Dr.
Can
Krishna.
I
I will
add?
be in touch for more discussion. Definitely.
Sure. Akansha,
Can
you
I
want to add
add one
something?
thing? Yeah, can I add one thing? So, Omkar, on your question on building rooftop, yes, this is something we have been very interested because government is talking about Har Ghar Surya Yojana and all, and just giving the potential of the building, which you can do with any satellite data, is easy, but potential will not be accurate if 50% of them already has a rooftop. So we actually worked in Kifili County in Kenya, used Google APIs to get at 2.5 meter resolution to get which all buildings have solar rooftop already installed. The accuracy we got was for 90%. We are actually writing a blog out of it. While this is good, it's because Google API you have to pay money, and we wanted to get data from some open access satellite data so that we can run this machine learning algorithm every 3 months or every 6 months to just update the data keeping on. So this is something we are working, and we are always ready for collaboration. If you want to work on, if your research talks about how to identify defunct mini grids and we update it so that everybody gets the latest information, we are always ready. We can talk about it and we can collaborate.
So thanks a lot. So that was my next point. So if you are looking forward to have something, definitely I will be in touch with WRI team. And Nitin is always there who is guiding me or any other. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, as the year increases in PhD, the question level increases, right? I know Omkar from year 1 or 2. Now he has become really in depth he goes. That's the advantage of PhD. Yeah, anybody else want to share something? We have a lot of participants. I think some of the questions are addressed. I want to understand if there is no one I can ask. Definitely Sanjeev ji is there. He's very senior credit officer. I think credible person I have seen like for last 10 years. And I think Sanjeev ji want to share something if you are there. He's from government agency, but I think he has left, I guess. No, Sanjeev ji is there.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
Nitin, how are you?
Namaste, sir. I'm good.
After a long time. In fact, I am retired from the CREDA and doing activities related to sustainable development, all activities. Just my concern is that because my irrigation is very much potential is there and progress as per the MNRE expectation is very slow. So what to do? Because Assam off-grid, in fact, the entire off-grid DRE solution is very useful for the livelihood and other activities also. So this is a potential area. And one more concern is solar dryer is one of the good activities. I am associated with the solar dryer activities. I will share my details about the solar dryers, what we are doing. And our business model is the buyback of the dried product so that we can provide a good rates to the farmers or self-help groups or consumers. So these two things, and one more things I would like to. In fact, I could not see the entire presentation on the Jharkhand. Actually, we have done a very good job on the solarization of the health centers in the last 10 years. And what is the status of the health center solarization in Assam? because Salco is doing some activities in the Assam and other states also. Because Assam is very scattered and very remotely located, so we have to provide a solution for the healthcare in the remotest area through the distributed renewable energy. So I can share what we have done in Chhattisgarh and being replicated in other states also. So I would be happy to share what I can do for the your project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. I think it's always pleasure to interacting with you. He was one of the leading pillar, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. I have a question for Akansha ji and Shikha ji. How like now can a individual person access this tool, or it's more like a institutionalized? It has to be registered with you, and then we can use this tool. This might be a little silly question, but how like not to go? Just we can register and start using that.
Yeah, sure, I can answer that. So the front end, like Akansha mentioned in her PPT as well, the website that we were showing, on which I demonstrated the whole process, that is available for anyone to access. Anyone, even if you create an account, you need to create an account for saving the analysis, downloading report, those kind of things. But even if you don't create account, you can actually use it for analysis. But yes, you will not be able to access that analysis if you don't create an account. And creating an account is as simple as registering your mail ID for any other account that you register in. So that is one thing. But the backend of the tool where the data is uploaded and maintained, that is password protected, and only limited people having there's limited number of people who have access to it. So the departments who maintain the data and the EAE team at WRI India, I mean, we have the access because we understand that many times data sets are sensitive. So what all data sets we get from secondary sources and from open sources, we always mention the source for it. So if some user wants to download the data and use it for their own purpose, they can go to that website and download it and start using it. But the data sets which we get from primary survey or from data from respective departments, and they tell us not like they are not obviously that is not open for everyone. Those data cannot be accessed, or that is in password protected mode. Akansha, do you want to add something?
No, thanks. So, Nikhil, like Shikha mentioned, that anybody can access the platform. They can reach out to us. Email ID is given. If there's a problem, we are always there for trainings. We are also launching some training tutorials so that they can, use it in different cases and scenarios. So the idea is that more and more people use it, and more of them gives us feedback and improve it. The more it will be useful for everyone, and it's a digital public good. It's for everybody, common for us to use.
Yeah, I think that was very important. Is there any other questions? I have a lot of questions sometimes, but I'm just seeing the chat box. If I'm missing someone, Hassan told amazing tool guys. I was wondering why more states aren't covered. I think they are in the process, might be. But I can I think answered that. I think most of
Yeah,
the questions are answered.
majority of the questions are answered actually by Akanksha. Thank you so much, Akanksha.
My question was on demand side, right? So when we talk about demand, how we map that, either it is like now household level, if it is a thatch roof house or a 5-room house, it's more about 100 watt, or if it's an industry, if it is an MIDC or kind of industrial belt, how you go about demand mapping, or that is the standard format right now. A village of 300 households will require 30 kilowatt of load consumption or 1200 units of electricity a month.
Actually, that's not the right way, because one size fits all is not the correct
Yeah.
way. If we'll say that everybody requires similarly, that's why I gave an example of healthcare facilities. So suppose the demand of a district hospital versus a CHC versus a health and wellness center would be very different. So we actually did a paper, actually two paper. One was in Uganda, wherein we mapped the energy demand for each and every healthcare facility in Uganda with the Ministry of Uganda. So we used a model called RAMP, which is remote areas multi-energy access. It's also an open source model. So we estimated the energy. To estimate the energy, we actually did survey, and similar thing we did it for Jharkhand for schools. We did survey to understand what are the appliances they have, how many hours they're using the appliances, what is the wattage of these appliances. And then using the RAMP model, we predicted this is the energy load profile, and this much of the energy would be required on daily basis and what is energy required for yearly basis. And in Jharkhand, when we did this, we also added the MNRE guidelines, which says that at that point when we did the paper, it was I think 86,000 for per kilowatt with a battery storage system. So this is the amount of investment you needed for solarizing all the schools. Does that answer your question, Nitin?
Yeah, but see now, if CSCs are there, they will be common. They will be have an atomic level. They will have an, but CSCs can fit one size, all right. But district hospitals
No, no,
definitely.
no, 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 no. Because CHCs, some CHCs are 50 bedded, some CHCs are 100 bedded.
Okay, okay. But most of the CSCs, okay, depends on the population of that zone or
Area.
sub. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough.
So because some CHCs got 10 kilowatt system, while a PHC also got 10 kilowatt system. Because the number of patients which are coming, the number of bedded it is, depends on the footfall, and then what are the instruments they're using. And of the very interesting thing which we realized was there are lots of equipments which are there in PHCs and CHCs, but there is no three-phase connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even though instruments are there, nobody can use it because the connection is not matching. And this we realized when we did a primary survey. So we said that you have to ensure that these things matches. Otherwise,
Yes.
there's no point of putting the resources.
Yeah, exactly. That's where like now once this data is there, but who is supplying, right? As a EPC or somebody, lot of things in rural India, we cannot get three-phase connection. I was struggling in Jharkhand to get a three-phase connection for running a pulses mill. I don't know what I need
Exactly.
to do. Yeah. I
Yes.
think this is
And one
very,
more thing we
very
do, and I think you might be knowing, is we do a lot of implementation work. So,
yeah.
like Sanjeev sir mentioned, we are actually working with EHA. We are working with lots of health livelihood organization on solar dryer, solar milling. So we can actually use and see how TRE can be used to, improve the situation of farmers, improve the situation, and then we would like document it so that it becomes a use case and
Yeah.
a report kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think it's very important. UNDP has installed 457 system last year, in which from CS, we did somewhere around 200 in Meghalaya and Nagaland. I had a word with Rishikesh and your team, so can we map them? We are monitoring them remotely, but now to get them. So that's also the bigger agenda for clean. Their members
Yes.
are there, spread across 28 states. For last 10 years, we are an industry association, how we can partner together and get this granular data, which will create confidence in government about the sector, which sometimes I feel because of data, we are not able to do that. A lot of amazing things are happening on ground. A lot of amazing players are doing, but we are not able to quantify that, right? Where it is happening, how it is happening. So with this tool, I think that will be the next task for clean. Can we come up like now with our member base, and then we can really get more value addition in the database, because they are doing a lot of surveys themselves, and they
Yes.
have baseline, midline, end line. So I think we'll get a lot of credible data, and how we can do that in Africa also.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're in Africa, in Zambia, there's a tool, in Africa, there's a tool called Prospect by GIZ, which does remote monitoring, and it's also an open source tool, which allows you to integrate all the data from different DRE solutions, and you can keep on adding the data. So basically, it becomes a lot of single platform with interoperability. Similar thing, we would also like to try that if we can integrate the data, and we are very glad, it will be very glad if Clean uses it and
Yeah.
applies for the data. And I wanted to say one more thing. Yes, we can also do timeline. So if clean members want to add the data, we can have timeline for point, we can have timeline for polygons for line. So imagine that you started putting that in 2020 I have 100 mini grids which you can see. In 2021 you can see 100 plus 20 or 30, whichever you are adding. So year on year you can also see that how the number of mini grids is increasing, how you can see, so you can see that yes, there's a progress in the state which clean is managing.
I think this is useful. Yeah, I think let's connect offline, because it's more like a bilateral dialogue going on here, and we are the organizer. I was hoping there are good questions, but most of them are addressed. And if there is something, I think they will definitely reach out on the website of WRI, which is very accessible. Before I give vote of thanks, Gitanjali, anything you want to share from
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. No, I think pretty much I was enjoying your conversation. It was really nice. And also I think because it's a vast tool, and I'm very sure once we all take out time and explore it and experience it ourselves as per our need, we will understand it more, and we can contribute to it as well. So I think, okay, that's all. And that's all from my side also, and I think there is no more questions as well. Everything is addressed. Okay, so the final vote of thanks by Nitinji.
It's very traditional right now. I just started how that goes, right? Bhaskaracharya, James, and L. So I was exploring through this tool and going across at least geography in India, but there are a lot of participants I can see they were from Africa also and Europe. So I think WRI has almost like across 6 continents. They will be definitely having analysis. So it's very nice to have this webinar. And Akansha ji and Shika ji, thank you so much for taking your time out. And there are a lot of insights we can draw and learnings. That's very important, where we have really scaled up across the communities, and where there is an opportunity going ahead. So on this note, I will keep it very short. I don't want to stretch more. And my battery is also dying. I don't have a charge here, so I've connected to another mobile. So that's energy access in my situation in Zambia. So it's really good. Thank you so much. I think we have set up a good, and then the next DRE, the webinar on clean will be on DRE and Indian budget. And that's a very hot topic. We are doing some research. What has ministry or Nirmala Sitharaman ji has allocated to DRE in nutshell. So that will be somewhere in second week of April, because we have some another events lined up in the network. So looking forward to see how this Energy Access Explorer scales up, and we also support in this journey. Thank you, Akansha ji, and thank you, Shika ji, and all the participants. Staying for 1 hour, 10 minutes, it's not easy. We had good participant. The turnaround was almost 53%. That's not easy to pull people in the afternoon in India time, or morning Europe time, or Africa time on the weekdays. So thank you so much. And if any other pressing questions are there, I think you can address to Gitanjali or Clean Network. We can, or directly reach out to Akansha ji and Shika ji. Thank you one and all. And have a nice day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.